Okay, so we're back with another episode. This will be episode 10 of this design project that we're trying to stream start to finish. Um, so, let me fix this a little bit. Last time we left off, we'd gotten a good start on hole 6 here. So, I wasn't really sure about how this sort of principal's nose bunker complex was working, and I'm happy with the sculpting and everything, but I just don't think it makes sense in the context of this hole because we already have this stream here that's going to create complications on the second shot if you miss the fairway. So putting this in really is just kind of overkill and kind of clutters up the sight line on the second shot. So I think we're going to save this particular design gambit for somewhere else on the golf course. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all this. And we can just fill this in. And then we'll have to smooth it out. And what I think we want to do is we want this stream to be visible somewhat on the second shot. So I don't think I want, this like really high bank on the front. So we're probably going to lower this land down and then we'll just try and seamlessly blend it into the rest of the fairway here. Okay, and then, obviously this looks terrible because it's got this severe drop down here, so we're just going to use the flatten tool. And just gradually make our way up the hill here. We might end up doing a couple passes with this. Alright, and you can see this crest, the crest of this hill here, kind of up right around where the bunker is. So that's about where a good drive would carry. Alright, so if you kind of go a little too far left, you run risk catching this slope and running off the fairway. Okay, we're getting there. This still needs a little bit of tweaking. Alright, let's kind of see how this plays off the tee. And if you maybe do a fast, you can catch that downslope. So the question is, do we want to tweak this at all? It is a pretty severe downslope, so maybe we just want to raise a little bit, right? Because like if you look at out here a little bit further down the fairway, it's pretty flat and smooth, but no one's really going to be hitting from there. So probably makes sense to adjust our sculpting a little bit. Oops, that's the raise tool. Is that the one we want to use? I think we want to use the flatten. Well, actually, let's try raise. Okay, and then I just want to raise this maybe another foot or two. Because we do want that camber to be something you got to allow for. So what happens if we play away from the bunker there? Alright, it stays in the fairway, but it takes us out towards the left, and we've got a pretty awful angle into this pin now, because the greens are going to be nice and firm, so... And if we pulled it a little bit more, we'd probably be in the rough. So I'm okay with that. We might make some adjustments when we play test it, but I think that's not too bad. All right. So we also need a little patch of fairway here in front of the green. So let's see, did we toggle our secondary surface? I don't believe so. Also, the edge of that green looks a little irregular, so we'll adjust our spline points just a bit. So we'll have a little bit of a bailout here, not too much, but it's gonna kind of flare out like that, and then we'll have some mounding on the right, sort of on the back right side. Okay, we might move this, we'll move this tee a little bit further to the right, just so they aren't right up against each other. I kind of like the having this sort of gently slope right to left, this landing area. So maybe if you're out of position, you can still play some kind of run-up shot. So we'll raise the right-hand side here a little bit. All right. Whoops. Go ahead and lay down some heavy rough to get rid of this mark around the green. Okay, and we wanted to put in some some moguls or mounding sort of around here. I think I might use the measuring tool just to rough in where we want these types of things to be. So first of all, we're going to raise this land that's kind of in back so that it actually kind of makes sense. And what I think we'll do is we'll start with, some more abrupt shapes, and then we can always just smooth it out a little bit. So this just creates a little bit of unpredictability. Maybe you get a good kick if you blow it right. Maybe you get a good kick. Maybe you don't. Maybe you end up with a really awkward stance for your third shot. And we'll probably cover these with plants and, long grass and such. Um, but often you saw these on lots of, very old courses because, especially if it was on, like, kind of in the northeast where the soil is sort of rocky, when they were, they would sculpt the fairways kind of using, horses and drag pans, and if they had big rocks, they'd have to get rid of them, right? And rather than pay somebody to just take them away and adding to the cost of the golf course, they would just put the rocks in little piles and then just cover them up with dirt. That's where that's why on a number of courses you see these sort of mounds and such. At least that's my understanding. Okay, I think that has kind of framed the right side of the green nicely. I had one more kind of tall one back here. Whoops. Alright, and then we'll just do a little bit of flattening with the soft brush. Just to smooth it out a tad. Now, to be clear, these are obviously not natural features. Obviously man-made. But we want them to look like they've kind of been there a while, so there's a little bit of, a little weathered maybe. Okay, and I think, based on how those tee shots were reacting, I think I want to lower the left side of the fairway a little bit, so we're effectively narrowing it. Let's see what happens if we lower it a couple feet. We don't want it to be totally unholdable, but we want it if you just pull it a little, then you might find yourself not in the fairway anymore. Alright, so that one I was aimed at the middle and I hit a perfect drive. And I more or less stayed in the middle, so that's fine. What happens if we pull it a little bit? Well, that one I pushed it back into the middle of the fairway. So that one stayed in the fairway. That's not really what I want. So I think, let me just make sure my settings are right. Alright, yeah, the firmness is all the way up, so. So what do we want to do? Do we want to raise the right side, lower the left side, or some combination of the two? I think I want to lower the left side. So basically, if you kind of land on the, if you land on the in the middle, you'll stay in the fairway, but maybe not by much. So if you want to have a good angle in here, you really gotta aim for this kind of upper flat spot and take on this bunker. You know, which if you end up right up against the lip, you might not be able to get home. So let's try it again. Alright, so there's a pretty fast downswing. And it stays in the fairway. Okay, so not there yet. This is kind of the annoying part of designing, making little adjustments and what have you. So I think what we need is we need to raise this like middle section here so that the ball gets kicked a little more to the left. Okay, so we'll raise that a couple feet, and then we'll lower this another maybe another foot or so. Now that one I pushed it a little bit so it might stay straight. Alright, well that stayed in the fairway, but it's going to have a severe right to left lie, so maybe that's punishment enough. Alright, that one should... Oh wow, it stays in the fairway. I think I need to lower the land like right on top of the hill there. Because now you're actually, if I keep lowering this, you're really getting a lot of run out, and you're actually hitting a huge drive, and you got like a 9-iron in. And this actually kind of turns into the preferred angle, or the preferred play. And what we can also do is we could probably raise this up sort of like on a diagonal almost, so that instead of just getting a ton of run out, it forces your ball more left than forwards. Alright, so we missed the fairway because we didn't aim far enough right. Okay, and I think I just want to maybe flatten a little bit, because maybe it plays okay, but it doesn't look, it looks a little, I don't know, it just looks a little draconian. So I'm just going to use the flatten a little bit. Alright, so I think it's pretty clear, as long as you're not totally asleep at the switch, you see that if you hit the middle of the fairway, you're going to kick dead left. All right, and that one hit more or less dead center, kind of right on the slope, and we more or less finished in the middle of the fairway. We're gonna have a really severe lie, which is good because we really didn't take on that bunker. So that's kind of the way I want it, I think. So now we gotta aim out over these mounds, hope we don't pull it into the bunker. All right, so I think I'm pleased with that for now. And I've been meaning to change the mow pattern on my fairway because I don't really care for that. Let's turn down the mow intensity big time. I'm not sure if I want it to be 0, but like these mow patterns don't look attractive to me at all. What I wish is, because a lot of them, you get a lot of courses, like the private clubs, you'll see if you look on Google Earth, you see one side will be dark and one side will be light. So like one side of the fairway is mowed away from you, and then they turn around and come back the other way. So you end up with kind of like this two-tone effect. And I think that looks pretty cool. I don't like these wide moor stripes. Plus, they all face the same direction on the entire course, right? So here it's like they're mowing crosswise, and then here they're mowing lengthwise, which makes no sense. That just caught my eye. I wanted to flatten it out a bit. Okay, we're gonna put the creek in later on because that's gonna be a lot of work. Okay, so the rest of the time we're going to get started on hole 7, and we'll see if we have to, what kind of adjustments we have to make here, because um, essentially what 7 is doing is you can see that we got that big hill on the end of the plot, so you can see how far below the 9th hole we are, and 7 is kind of the hole that climbs up there. Okay, so um, you can see that this is 60 feet uphill, and it's also 484 yards. And the tee shot is somewhat uphill, but it's mostly on the second shot. But I think this seems manageable to me. Right, we can always raise up the landing area a bit. So this one's going to be kind of a dogleg, right? And what it does is this hole kind of comes up against the racetrack, so we're probably going to route our fairway along that racetrack and kind of use it as a hazard. So I'm going to actually lower this land a little bit. I'm not sure if I want it to look like that though. So the way I had done this originally was we can just flatten here. And what we can do is we can just, we can smooth things out a little bit as we go. I haven't decided if we want to do anything in this, like maybe we'll just put some grass in it, make it look kind of overgrown. got a little too overzealous there. So essentially, it just kind of behaves as like a trench. Hey, Justin. What's happening? Just been hanging out by myself here for the past 30 minutes. Okay, and then I'm going to flatten this out a little bit. Well, not that much. Basically, this sort of racetrack that we've got here has been abandoned for some years, so we kind of want to soften it a little bit. It's been softened by time and erosion. Oh yeah. Okay, and then we'll just do some little flattens to smooth things out ever so slightly. Not too much. We don't want just a really smooth trough, but something to kind of give the illusion of time here. Time and weathering. Okay, and so that's gonna, we're gonna create a green that's gonna be sloping pretty well left, sharply right to left. So you'll want to be coming at it from the left side, and so that's where our unique hazard's gonna come into play. It's about 300 yards off the tee. And we might actually, given how, we could do some sculpting and make this a nice gradual incline. Or we could have the fairway run out. Not like in where it's in play off the tee, but like it runs out at like, I don't know, like 380 here. And then you've just kind of got like, broken ground here, and then you've got like an upper level that's got a little bit of fairway in the green. We could try that. We'll move this. And then if you want to lay up off the tee, which, you're sacrificing quite a bit given how uphill the hole plays. We can do something like that. And given the right to left camber here, even though this is about 30 yards, it's probably going to play narrower if you play here. So what we might do is flatten this out. So if you flirt with the racetrack, yeah, we can kind of like create a little flat on the left side. So if you flirt with the racetrack, you got a flat stance. Whereas if you kind of push it a little bit, or maybe you're tempted to kind of cut off a little bit of distance by playing to the inside of the dog leg, you end up with the ball above your feet. Although it's also probably going to kick it right to left, so I'm not sure. That'll be hard to make it work, but we can try. Yeah, this is probably going to be the most challenging hole to design, I think, because this is probably the most severe transition, because we're basically going from like sort of flat to way uphill. And we can always lower this a bit, but I kind of like the green site here. Like we can put like dig a deep bunker in here that's just kind of set well below the surface of the green. I think that fits with the overall aesthetic that we're going for here. Um, so hopefully we don't have to manipulate the land too much, though we may have to when we play test it. Okay, so yeah, our fairway can kind of run out around here, and then we'll have our green up here. Maybe you have like a bunker kind of cut into this ridge, more or less for visual intimidation, or I suppose it's something that you got to think about if you miss the fairway. Um, and then there'll be a sort of a long and thin bunker here, and then this is sort of the left edge of the green that's perched over it. And then the green's going to slope pretty hard right to left, I think. It follows the land, and it also then gives you a reward for flirting with the racetrack. And if you go down in it, then then you're actually, I mean, you've got a way uphill shot. You're almost 200 yards out, and it's 60 feet uphill. So yeah, you can have a run at the green probably if you draw a decent lie, but maybe it kind of tempts you to do something stupid. And this bunker is, yeah, 15, 16 feet below the level of the green if we dig it down here, so that should be that should give you pause. Hey, Adam. So we're designing a hole 7 here, and I don't know, I think it's got the potential to be something really cool, or it could just be the most unplayable mess on the golf course. One of those two. No. So basically, I'm just gonna pretend I'm acting as if it's like abandoned, in terms of um, what we're gonna do with the track. So they basically got rid of it and then built the golf course over it. And so you can see that like it's incorporated on hole 3 here in the form of like we dug a couple bunkers into it. Um, so basically, it's sort of like a drivable par 4, and you have to decide if you want to take on the racetrack with your drive or not. Um, it's in play. It just serves as like a steep fall off behind this green. Um, and then yeah, on 4 it's not really in play. You're just driving over it. And then on 7 it's basically just serving as like sunken ground. I'll probably put some grass in there. Yeah, yeah, those fairways are really wide. So, and that's where I got the idea for the racetrack. In case you're curious, Justin, is Somerset Hills in New Jersey. So I'm thinking this will be kind of a shallow green, so you really have to think about, given how long your approach shot is, you do have to think about playing a run-up shot. So there will be like a big patch of fairway in front that you need to use. So obviously the second shot's going to be blind. There definitely are not any holes at Somerset Hills like this one. With this severely uphill. I mean, 18 is pretty uphill, but you don't have like a ridiculously uphill approach shot with a long iron in your hand. I thought about lowering this land to make it a little less severe, but I'm kind of tempted to just keep it the way it is. Hey, Matt. I'm doing all right. Okay, and then the green's gonna slope hard right to left. And also back to front. Right, since it's uphill so severely, making it front to back, well, A, that's fighting the land, and also it's, your shot's going to come in at a lower trajectory already, so um, making it run, say, front to back is a little too penal for my tastes. But yeah, the right side is going to be substantially higher than the left. We're going to have to do a lot of flattening here. And we'll probably have to lower this land behind the green just a little bit. So I am probably going to have something approaching a two-tiered green. So it's 3 feet below. Let's try lowering the right side. I'm planning on doing it that way, yeah. Um, I'll probably have a couple pin positions on the right and then a couple on the left. Okay, so that's 2 feet 4 inches below the pin. I think that's not ridiculously severe. What I probably want to do is take this red slope and just kind of spread it out over a wider area. So I'm just going to do a flatten, and I don't know if this might make it a little too broad, but we'll see. Yeah, because then that put green in the middle. I don't want that. So I think we got to do this the hard way. Um, we're gonna just have to do some slight raises on this end and some slight lowers on that end. So the overall elevation change is going to be the same, from the low point to the high point, but we just want that slope spread out over a slightly higher, a slightly larger area. And we'll give you a nice big landing area here to run it up. And I think I want to make that sloped a little bit more towards the golfer. And then I'm going to lower this a little bit just so because the conditions are pretty firm, so I'm not necessarily creating a false front here, but it's just more of a kind of a helping slope to help kill your shot if you come in nice and low. But if you try and come at it at the air and you do land into it, it'll probably just kill it. I'm not sure how well that works with HB physics. It would work great with hickory clubs, I'm sure. And then maybe like 15 yards short, we'll put a bunker in. Okay, so I think what I'll do is I'll put in. I've been going for about 50 minutes and I haven't had dinner yet, so I think I'm just going to put in kind of like a tentative fairway for the second part of the hole. So probably something like this. Oh, hey Matt. You're stepping in right as I was about to go have dinner, so perfect timing. Yeah, I could use some entertainment while I eat. Okay. So you gotta use the kicker slope if you dare. It's probably not gonna be. You can't hold it on the top of the top level if you come in from the right, probably. Well, maybe you can. I don't know. We'll see when we play test it. This is just kind of a. We're still got a very tentative design here, but this should be pretty beastly, I think. You know, the second shot is like steeply uphill, whereas the one on the previous hole is steeply downhill. Um, so I think we got some good variety here. So, with that, I shall go ahead and sign off and wish you all a good night.